Hey, what's up, guys? James here. Just wanted to come and give my perspective and my opinion on what's happening with Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. I've been getting a lot of messages and things like that, just kind of asking for my opinion. So I wanted to do that from a charting perspective. Okay, so this is Bitcoin versus the dollar, and I'm gonna get rid of those clouds there. Okay, so this is Bitcoin versus the dollar, and I'm going to get rid of this as well. Okay, so this is what we're seeing. So obviously over the last few days, we had a lot of panic selling, and then we saw this bounce. And there's people that probably lost a ton of money in this zone. I mean, obviously, if you're in crypto, I know my portfolio went down a good percentage. But one of the things that I try not to do is I don't panic sell, because even if a market is going to change trends or change directions, if there's a big panic sell-off, there's always a bounce, okay? There's always a bounce that will provide a place to exit if you need to exit. However, I don't think that's the case. We are still in, I believe, a very bullish trend with cryptocurrency and Bitcoin that we are going to continue to progress. Now, obviously, we've been in this correction pattern since, what is that? Since December, the end of December, we've been in this correction pattern. But here's kind of what I'm seeing, all right? So if I draw a line like this, that's kind of like the resistance line. And I'll draw another line like this. This is kind of like the support line, or one possibility, okay, of a support line. Now, I trade based off of a theory called Elliott Wave Theory. It's something that has worked amazingly for me. Some people don't believe in it. Some people think it's crazy or whatever, but it's how I've been able to multiply my portfolio by over 10 times in just a few months, and it's pretty much all that I do. And one of the corrections that you'll find inside of Elliott Wave Theory, and not to go too deep into this, but is either an ABC correction or an ABCDE correction. And I'll show you what that looks like, okay? So when I do, like, this is something called technical analysis, where like, I don't really look at fundamentals or news or rumors or what people are saying on the news or articles or anything like that. I pretty much trade just based on charts. Like, I trade a lot of altcoins that I have no idea what the coins are, but I trade them just from a charting perspective, and have made a lot of money doing that. So that's kind of what I'm doing with Bitcoin. I try to stick to the analysis based on the chart, and that's pretty much what I go by. I know people have different opinions, and some people say it's ridiculous. Some people have made a ton of money doing it this way. I know there's all kinds of opinions, but I'm just kind of sharing with you what I do, okay? So this is one of the possible scenarios, okay? So this is about possibilities. This is not about me saying this is exactly what's going to happen. I'm going to lay out probably two scenarios here of what I think could happen, and then I think the best way to go from there is just to say, okay, here's two possibilities, and let me be ready for either one of those possibilities, okay? So this is one possibility, is that we have an A, we have a B, we have a C, and then we might be forming a D right here, okay? And then it would come back down and create the E, all right? So that's kind of a five-wave correction pattern that we actually see a lot inside of cryptocurrency, okay? So once you learn these, you'll start seeing them in, in a lot of places, all right? So we have an A, B, C, D, E, okay? Now, I'm not saying this is going to happen 100%, but this is a common pattern, and this could be what's playing out in Bitcoin. So if it is, we would see Bitcoin come up to here. Now, this would be the zone, okay? Right around, I guess, 14,000. There's going to be some give and take here. It kind of depends how you draw these lines here. But it could be over here. It could be in here. So what I'm going to do is lay out a zone, not an exact price. Okay. So right in this zone, I would even probably bring this down a little bit. Yeah. I would bring this down like this. Okay. So right in this zone, I would say, 14,000 to 14,700. That would be the zone if Bitcoin makes its way up there to really watch. And what we would all want is for Bitcoin just to break out, right? Just to break above this resistance line and just keep continuing. And if it does, that's awesome. Then it's probably not going to paint this E. okay, because sometimes they'll break out early or whatever. But if the price comes into this zone and then starts to weaken and it turns around and starts coming back down, just know that it's a possibility that we're just painting the E, okay? And that's it, right? So we have this resistance line. So this would be the zone to look to get back in Bitcoin, all right? If you're going to play it. So 7,800 to 8,500 or so. Maybe 8,600, somewhere in this zone, okay? For me, this is not about giving exact prices and saying, okay, it's going to hit 8,200 exactly. It's about understanding the possibilities and the zones of where the price is going to move to, okay? So these are the zones I'm kind of watching. Now, another possibility, and I'm going to kind of, another possibility that could be playing out is not this, all right? So I'm going to get rid of that. And what I'm going to do is I am going to draw support from back here. So if we kind of take this low right here, we go to this low here, and we kind of draw it out. And that's including the wicks. I know some people don't include the wicks. I do a lot of times when I draw, but that's just me. So if we do that, we see that there's kind of some room here where if it did fall, this would probably be a good zone to look to buy back in this zone, okay? Because this is looks like a strong support line, or could be. So this would be kind of the zone to look at. So I would say $8,000 to $8,500, somewhere in that zone would be really good. Now, that would also coincide with a pattern that looks like this. And I know for some of you, this may be way too detailed, and you might be like, okay, that's too much. And that's totally fine. I'm just sharing with you some thoughts, and I'm trading this stuff on my own. So whatever you do with it, it's totally up to you. But where there is just an ABC. So we have the A, we have the B, and then we have the C playing out. Now, the reason I'm saying this is because inside of this B to the C leg right here, there should be a 5-wave set that plays out. Now, there's a couple ways that that could play out, all right? We could have it look something like this. There would be a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down, but there's kind of two different ways to count it, okay? So one is that we already have this, we've already found the bottom, that this would actually have already been the bottom, and we're good. We already bottomed out, and we are continuing on, okay? But the other scenario to count this that's a little bit different is if you don't count this, if this isn't really the first 1 and 2 right here, but if this is the 1 and then the 2, this is the 3 and the 4, then there would still be another low that would need to be made, which would probably put it right in this zone right here, $8,500, maybe even 8,000, might tag 8,000. And if we kind of go back and look at previous support and resistance, I would say actually somewhere in this zone. This is previous, resistance and support, okay? So I would say probably somewhere in this zone, okay? Is where I would be looking to get back in. So I know what I'm doing, and this, one of the things I wanted to share with you guys is like, if you are following this and you're like, okay, I understand this, I can follow this, then one of the ways that you want to play these scenarios is you always want to have cash available, okay? So like I've got a pretty decent portfolio now in crypto. So what I've been doing is keeping 10 to 20% of my entire portfolio in cash, okay? All the time. And the reason I do that is for days when there are dips or whenever maybe there's a panic sell-off or whatever, I can go and I can buy the dips. And what having cash available, so like it doesn't matter if your portfolio is worth $1,000 or if it's worth $500,000, okay? Whatever your portfolio is, you want to have 10 to 20% of that. At least that's kind of a guideline for me. You want to have that amount in cash so that whenever there is a panic sell-off, whenever there are days like there was over the last couple of days, and maybe that might even happen over the next few days, we don't really know yet, having cash available like gives you a sense of empowerment that you can go in and you're not now emotionally wrecked because the price is falling, but there's actually a sense of empowerment that, you know what, man, the prices are falling. I can go shopping, right? I can go look for all these coins that are on sale, like big time, right? So I'm not saying that the bottom is in or that it's not in. What I'm saying is that these are two scenarios that could be happening. And these Elliott waves like this have made me a lot of money. Like, understanding this concept has made us a lot of money inside of crypto. So that's how I trade. That's what I do because I see them play out all the time. Now, even with this, there's multiple ways to do it. Like, this is where it's kind of like an art, right? And this is where we don't really know, like, this could be counted as the 1 and the 2 like this. And if so, then we could have the 3 and the, you know, I forgot what it was because I think this is actually moved up here, something like this. You know, see, there's a couple ways you could count these waves, so we don't really know until it actually happens. But these are a couple scenarios. So what I'm doing is I am just going to be ready for if Bitcoin falls into this zone. I actually already have buy orders set down here. Okay, so this is the zone I'm looking to buy. And what's cool about that, about setting buy orders, is if it doesn't get filled, it doesn't get filled. That's totally fine. I can cancel it and I can use that cash somewhere else. But if it does get filled, I have an awesome entry because I believe that after that, obviously, once we hit that bottom, we're going to bounce and continue. I really believe that Bitcoin is headed to, you know, 30,000 and above. Pretty simply by looking at the charts. I really believe Bitcoin opened the door to $100,000 per Bitcoin, possibly this year. I'm not saying that's going to happen. It's really hard to call the tops. I don't really ever try to call the tops on markets, but I do think it's 100% possible that we could go to $50,000 to $100,000 in Bitcoin. Now, having said that, you know, it's not just going to go straight there. It's not just going to go straight to 30,000. It's gonna make these wave sets up, right? So let's say that it does come down here, then we're probably going to be looking at something like this, right? It's going to come out like this, might come up here, and then we might see another little correction, and then we would continue up to 30. It's going to look something like this. Now, once we see this first wave set come out of it, and then do a little bit of a retracement, we'll have a better idea of where these targets would be, okay? So we kind of need to wait for this first impulsive move and then the retracement, and then we should be able to kind of see where it's going to go from there, kind of reanalyze everything. But overall, I guess what I just wanted to say is that don't panic, sell anything. Pretty much one of the only ways right now in this type of a bullish environment. And I know some people are like, oh, it's not bullish right now. It's correcting. It's bearish. This isn't really bearish. This is, when you look at the overall picture, I mean, this is extremely bullish, okay? So this is simply just a correction based off the impulsive move. The overall trend is extremely positive. So yeah, this is extremely positive. Bitcoin is going to continue. Crypto is going to continue. I believe we're going to be at a $1 trillion market cap here very soon. And there's a lot of positive things that are going to happen. I believe a lot of the altcoins are going to go crazy, at least for a while, for a couple months, and in the positive direction. So that's it, guys. Hope this video helps you. Thanks for watching, and we'll speak to you soon. Peace.